Greetings, Internet faithful. This is some guy named Rob from On Your Marks Wrestling, and this is my hot take for this week's episode of Smackdown on Tuesday, May 29th, 2018. It's about 2 in the morning on Wednesday. I'm just finished driving home from Ottawa, and I'm parked outside the worldwide headquarters of some guy named Rob, and I figured I would just give a little bit of a hot take of what I thought about SmackDown this week. Thought there were some really great ideas that were brought down by some really stupid ones. I'm going to start with the good. I really enjoyed opening the show with Samoa Joe. I love the fact that they just had him come out, grab a ladder, climb the ladder, pull down the briefcase, then cut a promo. If you wanted something that was going to catch people's attention, not that Joe really needs it, his skills on the mic are exceptional, that was a great visual hook. I thought his promo was amazing. The build with Daniel Bryan and teasing the match opening up the show, although incredibly formulaic. I wouldn't have minded if that had happened, because the subversion that they brought in with Big Cass was a very big negative, in my opinion. Thankfully, the match in the main event was not as bad as it could have been with the triple threat, but it could have been that much better if it had just been Daniel Bryan and Samoa Joe on their own. As far as the rest of the show goes, the six-man tag I thought was great. The dance-off was horrible. I can't believe we're doing dance-offs in 2018. This is the type of Vince Russo shit that should have died back in 1999 or 2000 with the WCW. But apparently they've decided to bring it back for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't know who thought this was a good idea. The problem is that Vince thought it was a good idea because he greenlit this shit to make it to air. And it was terrible. I guess they had to do something to try and make the Sami Zayn thing from the night before look almost palatable by comparison. I really didn't like the way that they did the women's match with Asuka versus Mandy Rose. I thought that just having Sonya Deville come running from the back and deliver basically a running clothesline or a running clubbing blow from behind, that's supposed to take Asuka out and kind of knock her off her game for like the first 2/3 of the match. After all the shit that she went through pre-WrestleMania, wrestling against Nia Jax and being basically like speared through the announcer area and stuff like that in the timekeepers area. Man, it's amazing how they've done so little with so much in the women's division since WrestleMania. Since WrestleMania, from the moment that Asuka tapped until now, the women's division has been in almost a full-on freefall. It is amazing to think how bad the women's division has gotten of late. It's pretty terrible. The Shinsuke Nakamura Ty Dillinger match, I thought it was pretty good. The one spot that I actually, first of all, I enjoyed the fact that they did Shinsuke backstage kind of throwing numbers around on paper, you know, counting from 1 to 10 and then kind of ripping into the 10 and looking all like kind of psychotic and savage and out of his mind. And then doing it again in the ring versus Ty Dillinger, only for Dillinger to sort of stand up on his own and mock Nakamura by doing the 10. I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was pretty clever. I'm amazed Ty Dillinger hasn't made it to TV a little bit more. I thought he would have been perfect for the debut of Andrade Cien Almas. But apparently a jobber match was better for business, apparently. Speaking of Andrade Cien Almas, wasn't a fan of him just being in a very random backstage skit. I thought that was a complete waste. I don't know what they're doing with him. Why is he brought up to the main roster if they're not going to do anything with him? And also by the same token, where the hell is Sanity? They've been building Sanity up since the Superstar shakeup. And yet, we don't know where they are. You know, we're looking at what, mid-April till End of May. No sign of sanity. Where the hell are they? Don't get it. Makes no real sense. Another thing that I thought was an incredibly stupid thing was the interview with the Good Brothers. And it wasn't necessarily the interview, it was the interruption on the screen by the Bludgeon Brothers. I don't care how badass you are, how legitimately dangerous you are in the ring, how tough you are, or how menacing your gimmick. You are not going to look like that on a 32-inch television. The size of the screen that they appeared on was so comically small that it pretty much, like, I couldn't take this seriously. If it had been, with the two of them in the ring being interviewed, and then all of a sudden the entire giant screen filled up, one end of the arena with the giant menacing faces of the Bludgeon Brothers in close-up, that would have looked cool. But having two big grown men and then having their opponents pop up on a dinky little flat screen TV that's barely bigger than the monitors I use at work. Yeah, not so menacing. Not exactly something that strikes fear into the hearts and minds of men. I thought it was just such a stupid decision. And again, why did they think that this would work? I have to say, overall, was it better than Raw? Yeah, it was better than Raw. But you're not setting the bar very high. Keeping everything intact in terms of the match layout of the show and the same people in the matches, I was able to put together a fantasy booking for Monday night's Raw that was at least twice as good and at least 4 times as entertaining as anything you would have gotten from the regular edition. Not to mention that I set up longer term storylines that have payoff. Hey, imagine that, a setup and a payoff that happens in the world of professional wrestling. Holy shit. I don't know if I'm going to do a fantasy rebooking of Smackdown. I may. So that'll be for tomorrow morning, Rob, or later this morning, Rob, to figure out. In the meantime, I'm going to get myself some sleep because it's now whatever it is past 2 a.m. For as long as I've been recording. So until next time, take it easy.